Hello guys, welcome to this particular video which is related to Appium mobile testing, and this time we are going to use an emulator which is Android based emulator. So in this particular course what we are going to do is we are going to use Appium as an automation test tool. We are going to use programming language as Java. We'll be using platform tools which is an Android SDK. We'll be using Maven as a build tool for Java, and we will be using integrated development environment which is an Intellij, that is the latest in the market. And this time around what we are going to do is we are going to integrate it with Cucumber BDD framework, which is a well-known framework in the market. This time around what we are going to do is we are going to use a healthcare app so that we can automate this particular mobile app using emulator in this case. Alright, so using Appium, sometimes it's not possible to have a real physical device with you. So what generally the team does is they use an emulator, an Android emulator, which is also called as Android virtual device. And you will be able to do something like this at the end of this course, where you will be able to perform operations on the mobile app on the emulator. You can perform selection of radio buttons. You can enter something on the text box using the app Appium test as such, and then you can navigate to the mobile test. And all this you can do with the BDD approach, which is behavior driven Cucumber framework, which is a well-known product. And you can use to verify how much the duration the test was running for the Appium test as well. And you can verify using the emulator. And post this, what you will be able to do is look at the report as well. An HTML Cucumber report gets generated, which will be showing you the duration as well as the start time, end time of this particular test run as well. So this is what we are covering, and if you try to perform this all test sequentially, but I'm pretty much sure, I'm pretty much confident that you will be able to successfully do it. Now in the detail section description of this particular video, you'll be able to see the video has been covered in different timings and different at right junctions. I have put validations and where the videos really start, but kindly watch this video sequentially so that you can really achieve all these steps on your own. If you perform it sequentially, you will be able to successfully achieve what we will be able to see over here. After performing the Appium test, you will be able to see the report as well through an HTML view. That is what we have tried to cover in this particular whole course in a sequential manner. In the next video, what I'll try to cover is I will try to cover all the steps that we have performed, step-by-step approach, so that it's easier for you to navigate and look at what we are covering at right junction of this particular whole video. So because this Appium related course in YouTube is one of the most comprehensive and one of the most practical course using emulator, what we have done is we have put exhaustive test in sequential fashion, and as you can see, what we have done is we have put all steps in very sequential fashion. We'll be starting with installation of IDE within our local machine, and then we'll move on to step number 2, which is verify Java in local machine, and if required we will have to install and then set up the system and environment variable. Then we'll move on to step number 3, that is verify Maven in local machine, and if required we'll install it. Then we'll move on to step number 4, which is install node, verify node and npm. Then we'll move on to step number 5, which is install Appium, and we'll start the Appium server as such. Then we'll move on to step number 6, which is download the Android SDK and install the platform tools as such. Then we'll move on to step number 7, which is installation of Android Studio and use the AVD, which is an Android device, which we also call as Android virtual device. Then we'll move on to step number 8, which is about sample healthcare app. Then we'll move on to step number 9, which is we'll try to understand the capabilities of the mobile app that we need to know before configuring Appium tests as such. Then we'll go on to step number 10, which is creating a new Java project in Intellij for Appium test as such. Then we'll move on to step number 11. We will install Appium drivers. We'll understand about Appium driver documentation. We'll have a quick look. Then we'll move on to step number 13, which is actual installation of Android SDK platform tools. Then we'll move on to step number 14, which is adding Android home in environment variables. Then we will move on to step number 15, which will be launching mobile app using Appium scripts in Intellij. Then we'll move on to step number 16, which is downloading and installing the Appium inspector. Appium inspector is really required to understand to inspect element locators on our mobile app. Then we'll move on to step number 17, which is Appium locator strategies and selectors. Then we'll move on to step number 18, that is starting session with the Appium inspector. Then we'll move on to step number 19. We will be using the Appium inspector capturing the selectors of the healthcare app as such. Then we'll move on to step number 20, writing Appium scripts and demonstration of test runs via Appium scripts. Then we'll move on to step number 21, that is adding assertions in the Appium automation scripts. Then we'll move on to step number 22. We will have a quick look on the introduction to BDD framework. Then we'll move on to step number 23, integrating the BDD Cucumber framework with Appium scripts which run on the healthcare app. And step number 24 will be the last, where we will be running our BDD integrated Appium framework automated test to view our HTML reports. So this HTML report will consist of our pass, failure, as well as the duration it has taken for the Appium test to run. So sit back, relax, and let's proceed with the step number 1. So for installation of Intellij IDE in the local machine, what you need to do is you need to click on Google and then look for an Intellij Community Edition. You can search this in your browser and then you can click on the download Intellij, the leading Java and Kotlin IDE. Once you click on the link, the first link that you will be able to see is Intellij IDEA Ultimate, but you do not require to have Ultimate version. What you need to have is the Community Edition, which is free for you, and you can select as download based on your requirement, whether you need a .zip file or .exe file. But .exe file is a better option. You can click on download and this will get automatically downloaded in your default downloads folder. Now once this has got downloaded, what you can do is you can go to your downloads folder and just double click on this .exe file. And once you double click on the .exe file in your downloads folder, you will be able to see something like this, which is Intellij IDEA Community Edition Setup. You can click on next, and what it will do is it will select a C drive, which is a default folder in your machine, and it will try to get installed over there. So this is the path. You have to make a note of this path, which is C drive, program files, JetBrains, Intellij IDEA Community Edition. Okay, so the version which I have in my machine currently is 2022.3.2. You can select whatever is related to your specific version. It could be 2023 as well, but it will same as what I have in my machine. So I'll just click on next and then it will give a destination folder where exactly do you require to install it. Click on next, 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 and you will be able to get a successful message that the installation has really happened in your machine. Now, once the installation has happened in your machine, you have got a successful message. You can go into your search bar in your machine and then just search here as Intellij. And you will be able to see that the moment you type Intellij in your search button, you will be able to see that something like this is getting opened up, which is Intellij IDEA Community Edition 2022. So you can double click or single click on this particular window and something like this will open up, which is welcome to IDEA, and you can click on create a new project to start with, which will be starting soon, or you can customize and look at the plugins or click on learn just to learn about IntelliJ. But what I would suggest is we have to create a new project. Okay, so this was my intention, that you at least install IntelliJ IDEA and something like this window should open up so that you understand, okay, IntelliJ is really set up. Before creating the new project, we have to make sure that our Java and Maven is really set up correctly in our local machine. So those couple of steps we will be doing soon in the next section. So we are done with step number 1, which is installation of IntelliJ IDEA in local machine. Now the second step that we'll really require to do is a prerequisite, which is step number 2, verify Java in local machine, and if required we have to install it, and then setting up the system and the environment variable. Now let's get that done. For verifying whether the Java is really present in a local machine, what we need to do is we need to search a command prompt in our machine. So I'll just click on this search button over here, and I'll just type over here as command prompt. I'll just single click on this, and something which like this will open up, which is a command prompt. Now it will by default go to a path which is C users and then your user, which is specifically in your machine. Now I'll enter a simple command which is Java hyphen hyphen version in this particular machine, and press enter on my keyboard. Now what I have got here is Java 11.0.19. What it means is Java is really set up in this machine. Now it may happen that you might not have Java in your machine, which might show that it's not able to understand the command of Java. If that is the case, that you have to install Java in your machine and set up the system variables. Okay, I'll explain that step as well. Now what we need to do is we need to search in a browser as Java and download, and press enter on our keyboard, and you will be able to see that there are a couple of links over here. One is Oracle link and another is directly a Java link. You can go on either of the locations and get Java installed in your machine. Okay, it really doesn't matter. Recently or previously what had happened is Java was acquired by Oracle. That's the reason there are a couple of links over here. Now I'll just click on Oracle link, which is Java downloads, and the moment I do that, you can see that this particular page opens up, which is specific related to Java downloads. Now the Java latest version currently available in the market is Java 21 and Java 17. Okay, now these might be the stable versions of Java, but what I have done is I have selected something which is JDK 11. Now I just scroll a little bit down, and you can see that Java 8 version is also available and Java 11 version is also available. Now it depends on you what you really need to select. Now I have selected Java 11 for the purpose of stability. Java 11 is quite stable, and I'll just click on this Java 11 tab, and then there is an option of Java 11.0.20. Now depends on your OS, which is operating system, whether which operating system do you have in your local machine, and then you can get it installed in your local machine. Now I have Windows currently, which I'm using in this particular video. I'll just go to Windows tab, and then there is a 64 installer. Now I'll just click on this downloads, and the moment I do that, you can understand that this gets downloaded in the default downloads folder in my machine. Okay, so make sure that where exactly is your default downloads folder. Generally it is under C drive into your local machine where it really gets downloaded. Now you can double click it or you can single click it so that it gets downloaded in your local machine as such. Now, once you have downloaded your particular .exe file, you can double click on that particular .exe file, and you will be able to see that some window will get appeared, and you can get it installed specifically in your machine. Just proceed with particular steps of installation of Java, and then you'll be able to make sure that you understand where exactly the Java has got installed. Now by default, I'll just explain where exactly Java gets installed, and I'll show in my machine as well. I'll go to C drive, and then I'll go to program files, and I'll go to Java folder, and over here I can see that there is a JDK-11 folder that has got created. Okay, now once it has got created, you can just verify what all folders you have. So you have a bin folder, you have a conf folder, you have a lib folder. Okay, now I had already got this done as soon as my Java got installed, and I clicked on that .exe file and my installation got completed. Now the reason I am requesting you guys to verify that which particular path is for you in your machine, it is important that we set up the environment variable in a particular machine. Okay, now this is the path exactly, which is C drive, program files, Java, JDK hyphen 11 bin. Now this exact path has to be entered in our system variables, which we'll be doing right now. So what I'll do is I'll search environment variables, and the moment I search environment in this particular section, you'll be able to see that there is an edit system variables control panel. Okay, now I'll just click on it, and something like this will open up. As you can see, there is a system properties, and I'll click on environment variables, and the moment I click on environment variables, this particular window opens up. Now this particular window is important for us so that our Java really gets recognized by our Windows file as such. Now Java is a product of Oracle, and it used to be earlier within Sun microsystem. Now Windows is a operating system which is different from Sun microsystems or Oracle as such. That's the reason we have to set up this environment variable and system variables so that our machine recognizes Java particularly. Okay, now the important area where the environment variable and the system variable has to set up is, you can see that there is a path over here. Now you need to double click on it, and you have to provide the exact path. So you can see over here we had our Java got installed at C drive, program files, Java JDK. Okay, so exactly the path I have given over here, you can see that C program files Java JDK hyphen 11. Okay, I have not given bin over here, but I have just given JDK hyphen 11. Now this is the environment variable I have set it up, and I'll just close it, and I'll go to the system variables. Now over system variables, I have set up a Java underscore home. Okay, now I'll just click on this, and as you can see, I have set up a variable name which is Java underscore home, and C drive program files Java JDK hyphen 11. Now we have to give the path where exactly is our bin folder. Okay, that exact path has to be given. Now I have given in the system variable, and I have provided the path under this, which is environment variable as well. And now I am set up with my Java paths. Okay, so system variable is also done, environment variable is also done. Please note that if you are running Java first time in your machine, this will not have been set up, and that's the reason I'm giving this instruction to the people who are trying this in their machine, that you have to set up both this system variable as well as environment variable, and then come back and run this command of Java hyphen hyphen version. Once you have set up this, you have to come back to command prompt and run this particular command, which is Java hyphen hyphen version. And the moment you do that, you can see that you are getting a response back as some kind of version that you have already set up. Okay, so my PC contains Java 11.0.19. That's the reason it is showing over here as Java 11.01.19. Now you might have installed Java 11.0.20, that will get appeared over. Okay, so this is important in order to proceed for setting up our project as such. All right, now our step number 2 is also done, which was a prerequisite. Now what we have to do is a prerequisite verify Maven whether it's really present in our local machine or not. If it is not present, what we have to do is we have to install it. Okay, and then the setting of the system and the environment variable. Now this is very similar to our step number 2, but it is little different as well. That's why I had to set it up that this is a prerequisite before we proceed. Now what we have to do is similar to what we did in the step number 2. We will go to command prompt. So I'll just search command prompt here, and something like this will open up as a command prompt. Now I have to enter a command over here, which is mvn and hyphen version. Okay, and press enter on my keyboard. Now the moment I press enter on my keyboard, there are some details coming out. Okay, so you can see that there is an Apache version, Apache Maven already present, which is 3.9.1, and there is a Maven home setup. Okay, now it's trying to take some details from this particular area wherein it's taking it from C drive, users, AU, downloads, Apache Maven 3.9.1 bin, and then Apache Maven 3.9.1 version, and it's giving a Java version as well. So it has already linked, the Maven itself has linked with Java. So we have done some settings of Maven as well in our system and environment variable after the download. That's the reason it is showing, okay, the Maven is already present. But if it is not present and if it's showing that it's not able to recognize it's a mvn command, what we have to do is we have to install mvn. Okay, now there is nothing specifically called as installation of mvn. What we really do is we generally download mvn in a particular location and then set up the system and environment variables. Now let's do that. I'll just minimize this command prompt, and then I'll just go to my browser, and I'll just type here as Maven download. And the moment I press that, you can see that there is a link over here which is Apache Maven. Okay, now Maven is an Apache product, and I'll just click on download Apache Maven, and you'll be able to come on this particular page which is Apache. Now you have to specifically download a particular version of Apache. Now there are different links given over here which is Apache Maven 3.9.1 hyphen bin. Now you can go for .zip file or you can go for .tr, .gz as well. Now what I have done is I have clicked on this particular double clicked on this particular link, and it has gone downloaded in a particular version or a particular link where default link of the download as such. Okay, now it is important to understand where exactly this has got downloaded. Now if I search over here in my downloads folder, that is the Apache, you can see that there is a versions of different versions of Apache that I have specifically got downloaded, and this has been present in my downloads folder. Okay, that's the reason you could see that this particular, when I had run mvn hyphen version, it was picking up from particular Apache Maven, that is downloads folder. Now once you have got downloaded this particular file, you need to zip it, or you have to unzip these files, and you have to try to retrieve the location, exact location of the Apache Maven. And once you have understood where exactly is your Apache Maven, you have to search for environment again, which we had done in this our step number 2. That is, we try to search the edit system variables, that is environment variables, and this particular window opens up, system properties. Now in this system properties there is a folder, there is a button which is environment variables. I'll just click on that, and you'll be able to see that there are environment variables and the system variables. Okay, now for the environment variables we have to set up a path. I'll just double click on this path, and you can see that I have specified a particular path over here which is percentage maven underscore home percentage backslash bin. Okay, you need to specify this particular path exactly as it is appearing over here. Otherwise you will not be able to map the maven into your local machine. Okay, similar to what we had done in our step number 2, setting up Java as well. Now this is the path. Once you have specified the this particular path in the environment variable, you need to specify the system variable. Okay, so system variable, what I have done is, if I go to system variable Maven home, okay, I have created this particular system variable specifically. So I just clicked on new, and I created a variable name that is Maven underscore home and provided the variable value. Now what I did is I provided the Maven underscore home as a variable name, and I provided the path exactly where the Apache Maven is present. Okay, now you can see that this is the downloads folder which where exactly it had got downloaded. So I'm not installing Maven anywhere. Okay, similar in the step number 2, we had what we had done is we had specifically installed Java, but here we are not installing Maven. We are only mapping a Maven to a particular system variable. Okay, so once you have set up the Maven underscore home and you have provided the path, As you can see that the maven underscore home variable is exactly similar to what we had specified in the environment variable as well. So if I go to path, I had already specified maven underscore as a bin. So that is the mapping that I'm doing in my environment variable and the system variable. Okay. Once you have set up this, what you need to do is you need to go back to your command prompt and run your mvn-version. And what you will be able to get is Apache Maven 3.9.1. That means your Maven is also set up in your machine. So we are done with our step number 2 as well, step number 3 as well, which is verify Maven and then setting up the system environment. So we installed Intellij and then we have set up Java as well in our machine. We have set up Maven also in our machine. Now let's proceed with step number 4. Alright, let's now proceed with step number 1, which is installation of node in the machine. Now before verifying whether you really require to install node in your machine or not, what we have to do is in your machine, look for command prompt. So I'll just type here as command prompt and this particular window will get opened up. Once the command prompt opens up, what you can do is you can just type a command over here, which is node hyphen hyphen version and press enter on your keyboard. If you do not have node in your machine, which will be most probably in your case, you will not be able to see something like this, which is version 18 point something or any other version. Now if you are not able to see any other versions over here, that means you do not have node in your machine. Okay, so that's the reason you will have to install Node.js in your machine. So how do we do that? Is we can go to Google Chrome and just type over here as Node.js download. You will be able to see this particular link, which is download Node.js. You can just click on the link and based on your operating system that you have, you can install the Node.js in your machine. So I'll just click on Windows. The moment I do that, you can see that the download has happened. So you'll be able to see that there is a Node.js .exe file that which has got downloaded. So if you double click on your downloadable file, you will be able to see something like this, and you'll be able to go ahead with your installation of Node.js. So you can just click on next and then accept the terms, click on next, and it will give you a default path in your machine. You can click on next and you can select these appropriate ones and click on next. Now once you do that, you will get a successful message that the node has been installed in your machine. Now with the node, what really happens is you also get a node package manager, which is also called as npm. Okay, now once this particular message comes for you, because I have already installed node, I will not proceed, but I will request you to proceed with this particular step of clicking next and getting a message of node.js is really installed in your machine successfully. All right, now once that is done, what you can do is you can go to command prompt again and then type over here as node hyphen hyphen version, and this time around you can see that the version 18 or whatever version you have downloaded, the latest one, you'll be able to see that number coming over here. Apart from that, you will be able to check whether there is npm in your machine. Now what you can do for that is you can type npm and then you can put hyphen version and then press enter on your keyboard, and you will get a version for you as soon as you have installed node in your machine. All right, so these are the two important steps that we have to really do, and as part of this, what we have done is step number 1 we have done, as well as step number 2, that is verify node is installed in your machine, is also done. All right, now that we have checked Node in our machine and we have installed Node and npm in our machine, let's use Node to install Appium. Okay, so in order to install Appium, let's run a command over here, which is npm install -g Appium and press enter on our keyboard. Now, what's happening in the background is you can see that using npm we are installing Appium in our server. Okay, so this is the first time Appium is getting installed in this machine. That's why it might take time to install as such. So once that is completed, let's run couple of commands to verify that Appium has really got installed in our machine or not. All right, so we got a message over here, added 439 packages in 31 seconds. What it means is it has not errored out, okay, which is a good sign that Appium at least has got installed in our machine. Now, in order to check whether Appium is really got installed in our machine, there is another command for that. So what we can do is appium-v. Okay, and press enter on your keyboard, and then you will be able to see that you are getting a version over here which is 2.5.1, which is a good sign. So there is an Appium version 2.5.1 which is installed in this machine now. Now, in order to run Appium server as such, what we will do is we will just type here as Appium and then press enter on my keyboard. Now, the moment I do that, you can see that there is a message that has come that welcome to Appium, and it's given kind of an indication that it has auto detected Appium at a particular path, which is at a C drive. And you might have noticed one particular peculiarity about Appium this time, and this is related to port. Okay, so there is an IP URL over here which is being shown over here, but having said that, it ends with a port which is 4723. Now, this is a very important question, probably one of the interviewers might ask is what is a default port that Appium generally takes? So 4723 is one of the default port that Appium takes, and that's what is being shown over here as well. So we are able to start our Appium server as such. Now, we can use Appium driver as well. That is what has been mentioned. Now, no drivers have been installed. Use the Appium driver command to install the one. We will do that we will subsequently, but having said that, we need to connect a mobile to our machine. Okay, so we will use a USB cable to connect our mobile to the USB using USB to our machine, and we will use another tool called Wiser tool, which we will download and install in our machine as well, so that we can use our mobile and at least check what we can test in our mobile assets. So let's do that next. All right, now in this particular section, what we will try to do is we will try to install platform tools and try to connect our device. Okay, so in the last section, what we did is we were able to download and install Appium, and we were able to start the Appium server. But in this particular section, let's try to install platform tools for Android SDK. Now, what I will do is I'll go to Google and I'll just type here as Android platform tools, and the first thing that I get over here is Android developers. Now I'll just click on this SDK platform tools, and once I scroll down, you can see that there are some downloads over here, and this is particular Windows machine. So what I will do is I'll just click on this particular download SDK platform tools for Windows. So I'll just click on it and I'll accept the terms, and I'll click on download Android SDK. Now once the download is completed, which happens to be in the latest download folders as such in my machine. I'll just right click, open, and this is the folder that has been opened up, which is a platform tool specific. Now what I will do is once I have extracted the platform tools in my machine at the downloads folder, I'll just copy it and then go to C drive, and in the C drive I'll move to program files, and over here I'll paste this platform tools, right click, paste this platform tools, and it will just ask for administrator. So one important point is that if you have to move any folder into your C drive, you will require to have administrator. So hoping that you have administrator rights, kindly paste this particular folder here into platform tools. Okay, now once you get this platform tools, copy this, and after you copy this one, you will have to find your edit environment variables. So once the system properties are opened up, you can click on environment variables. So system properties will open up. Now you will have a section called environment variables. You need to click on the environment variables. And over here in the environment variables, there are a couple of sections over here. Now you need to head on to system variables. Okay. And in system variables, there is a variable called as path. Now you can click on the path and then you can click on edit. And once you click on edit environment variables, okay, so this section will open up. Now you can add on, click new, and then paste the path over here, which we had copied earlier, which is C program files platform tools. Now click on OK. And once you click on OK, and you will have to close this environment variables as well and click on OK. And what it might happen in the background is the environment variables will get synced up with your platform variables. Okay. Now what you need to do is just to verify that this has really worked, you can type command prompt over here and then right click, run as administrator, and this particular command prompt will open up. Now administrator command prompt, once it's open up, you will be able to see a default path over here, which is C drive Windows System 32. Now over here we will run a particular command called adb and then hyphen or space, we will type devices and then press enter. Okay, so what has happened is now at least our machine is able to identify that there is an Android SDK setup in this particular machine. That's the reason it is able to identify that that is this machine is ready to accept any other Android phones or devices as such which can be attached to this particular machine and then particular run it. Okay, now, if we would not have set up the platform tools over here in our C drive and we did not set up the path variable in the environment variable, then it would have shown a particular message over here that it's not able to identify the ADB as an unknown command as such. Okay, so this is very important step when you are doing APM specifically. You need to have ADB running in your machine, and that's one of the important steps. Okay. Now, in the next section, what we'll do is we will try to use a particular tool called Visor, and Visor is a tool, an application which connects your phones to your desktop as such, and using whatever in your phones, then you will be able to identify that whatever you are doing in the phone, it will be visible in your desktop. So this is an optional step that you install Visor, but if but I am doing this because I want to show what I'm actually doing in my mobile phone. That's the reason I am going to install Visor as such. Alright, so in this section, what we'll do is we will try to install Android SDK platforms tool. Okay, so what we'll do is we will probably click on Android SDK platforms tool, and the moment we click it, you'll land on this particular page. Okay, you will get SDK platform tools release notes as well as downloads. So what I would suggest is click on this download SDK platforms, and you will get the terms and conditions option, and then you can click on I have read and agreed and click on download and Android SDK platform tools for Windows. Okay, so the moment you do that, download will start, and what I will request you to do is kindly install that once it is downloaded, and kindly proceed with the steps that is required. So once you have downloaded as well as installed, you will get an option like this, that is Android Studio setup, and it will look for a particular location within your machine. Okay, so in my case, what it has done is it has got installed in a location of C drive program files Android Studio, and you have successfully installed Android Studio. Kindly open that up. So I'll just go into my machine and then I'll look for Android Studio, and then I'll open up this particular app as such. Okay, so something like this will open up, which is Android Studio. Now we are not going to develop a mobile app as such, but why we wanted to install Android Studio specifically was, if I go to more options, okay, you have an option of SDK manager. So you can click on SDK manager, and once you click on the SDK manager, you will be able to see that it will give a location where exactly is your SDK. Okay, so this is the position where, or location, or a path you would say, where exactly your Android SDK has been installed. Okay, so there is a location which is C users, ACE AU, app data, local, Android, and SDK. So in your case, the whatever will be your username in your machine, that will be replaced by this, and then the whole path will remain the same. Okay, so this is an important path that you will have to make a note of, because this is what you will have to set up in the Android underscore home step as well. If you remember that we had gone to this step wherein it was requesting for Android underscore home setup, we will do that as well once you have installed Android Studio along with your SDK. Okay, so I'll go to C drive, and then if I go to users, if I go to AU, if I go to app data, and if I go to local, there is a particular folder which is SDK. This is very important for us to understand whether SDK is really installed in our machine or not. Now, if you click on this SDK, you might have noticed one particular folder which is platform hyphen tools. Okay, so we had already copied this platform hyphen tools previously to map our mobile phone with our machine. Okay, so at that time we had just copied the folder and then tried to use it, but this time around we have specifically installed Android SDK so that we can set up our Android underscore home in our environment variables. So once you have got this location which is SDK, kindly copy this and let's use it in our environment variable setup in the next step. Alright, so in the last section, what we did is we were able to install Android SDK platform tools as this particular step is done. Now what we will try to focus is we will try to set up Android underscore home in our environment variables. Okay, so for that what we have to do, path which is C drive users is AU app data local Android SDK. We will just copy this particular path, and then once we copy the path, let's search the environment variable. So I'll just come to search in of this particular machine, and we'll be able to see that edit environment variables for your account. So I'll just click on this, and the moment I click on this, we will be able to see the environment variables what we have been doing previously. Okay, so what I have done here is I have already added Android underscore home, as you can see over here. So what I will request you to do is you need to create a system variable. Okay, in Android underscore home. So what I've done is you can click on new, and then you can provide the variable name, that is Android underscore home, and then you can enter the path which we had copied with relation to SDK, and then once you do that you can click on OK. Alright, so once you do that, a new system variable has got added over here, as you can see, which is Android SDK. Now apart from that, what we have to do is we have to come to this particular section of user variables for your user. Okay, and this is under environment variable. There is a path. Okay, variable path. Now you click on it and then click on edit, and once you click on edit, this edit environment variable section will open up. Okay, now you have to enter three parameters over here, that is percentage Android underscore home percentage. That's one of the values. The second value is percentage Android underscore home percentage backslash platform hyphen tools. And the third one that you have to add over here, which is an environment variable, is percentage Android underscore home percentage backslash tools. Okay, so all three have to be added. And apart from that, what I have done is I have added the Android SDK path as well over here. Okay, so all four variables you have to add over here, and then click on OK, and then click on OK again, and make sure that you click on apply if there are some changes over here, because we have made changes in the environment variable, and if this is enabled, kindly click on apply, or else you can click on OK. You might require to start your machine or start your laptop as such, and then you can come back and then make sure that it is already present, okay, in the environment variable. Sometimes it requires to be restarted, and some cases it does not require to be restarted as such. All right, so that is how we set up the Android underscore home variable as such, and that's all the requirements we have set up. So we have done the Windows, we have the Windows OS, we have the Android SDK platforms, we have set up the Android underscore home, Java JDK is also done, and we do have real Android devices as well. So in the next section, what we will be doing is we will, because we had created a project or a very small project as such in the APM, and we had added a couple of dependencies, we will start adding a test over there which will try to launch our mobile app in our phone real device as such. So let's do that in the next section. Alright, so in the last video, what we did is we looked at ADB devices as a command, and we were able to search list of devices attached. Okay, so now in this particular specific video, the full course is about using emulator and not a physical device. Okay, so what we will be doing here is trying to set up a virtual device or a emulator so that we can actually test our app inside the emulator as such. Okay, so visor will be required when we are actually trying to connect our physical device, but because this full course is about running testing our apps inside the emulator, what I'll try to do is I'll try to set up the emulator as such. And for setting up the emulator, we will have to either install Android Studio, or we will have to use our ID to set up our emulator as such. Okay, so this is what I will try to show in this particular video as such. Now there are some questions that my students ask, do we really require to use Android Studio? And the answer to that is you need not specifically use Android Studio. You can still use some command tools like which will try to set up the emulator as such, but it will be easier if you install Android Studio in your machine. Okay, now for that what you can do is you can do Google, and then you can go to Android Studio, and then over here you will get a option of Android Studio and app related tools. You can click on that, and you might get a latest version over here which is Android Studio Ladybug, and this keeps on changing, for example, and this helps us set up our emulator. Or else there is one more option which is easier, is you can use your ID. So if you remember, what we did is we installed Intellij in our machine, and we can use Intellij as well to look at our tools and try to install or set up the Android virtual device as such. Okay, so I'll give that option as well, but what I'll do is I'll download this Android Studio, and then I'll open up the Android Studio as such and go to the settings and show how we can set up the emulator as such. So let me do that. So let me click on this download section, and once it is downloaded, what you can do is you can go to downloads and install your Android Studio as such. Okay, so once you have installed your Android Studio, you will get something like this, a window as such, which will give you an instance of welcome to Android Studio as such. Okay, now welcome to Android Studio, what it means is you have set up successfully your Android Studio, and what you can do is you can go to more sections, and over here there are some options available. Okay, now there is an import Android code sample, profile, debug, APK, virtual device manager, and SDK manager. Okay, now you can click on a SDK manager just to understand what the SDK manager is altogether. And once you install over here, what you will be able to see is that there is a default path that Android tries to take. Okay, so this is the default path, which is Android SDK location, and this is the location where exactly your Android is as a software development kit, it is present in your machine. Okay, now make sure that this is available to your machine, right? It is already present, and close this. After that, what you can do is you can come back to Android Studio and then you can click on this particular virtual device manager. Okay. Now, once you click on this device manager, you will land on this particular window. Okay. Now, once you land on this particular window, you will be able to set up virtual devices, that is emulators, using this particular window. Okay. Now, what I have done here is I have tried to set up a particular emulator already. Okay. Now, I will not go into depth of it, but for your convenience, what I'll do is I'll create a new device manager and walk you through how to do that as well. So just click on this create virtual device. Now we are trying to set up a emulator. So, and once we click on this particular virtual device configuration, you can see that there are a lot of options available. You can set up a different setup, whatever you want to test your application as such. Okay, so you can set up phones, you can use tablets, you can use wearables as well, desktop, TV, and all that options. Now, the one which we are going to be interested is phone. Of course, phone is the most widely used currently in the market. So go to this phone section, and over here you can get a lot of options, right? Now, these are specifically Android related because we are trying to set up Android phone. Okay. Now, there are different phones altogether. Now, there is a Pixel Fold. Now, I'll take one option which is Pixel 6. Okay. Now, Pixel 6, it gives the dimensions and all that. And what I'll do is I'll click on next. And when I click on next, you can see there are different system images present. Okay. Now, what it means is that there is an API exposed. Okay. Depends on what exactly Android version you are using. Okay. Now, I am using Android 14.0. Okay. Which is an upside down cake. Okay. So previously, the option that we had got, that was selection of the phone, right? And this one is a system image based on your Android version that you really want to install on your phone. Okay, the OS, that is operating system, is of Android, but which exactly is the version that you want to test as such is what we are trying to select over here. Okay, now I am selecting upside down cake. Okay, and this is a API level of 34, and it is kind of a giving an indication that it's an Android 14.0, and it requires a system image of 64-bit as such. I'll click on next, and here is where it will try to ask for a name. Okay, Android virtual device name as such, and you can provide your name, whatever name that you want. It is kind of flexible. So what I can do over here is, and I'll click on finish. So there are the three there are couple of options over here, right, which we have already selected. We have mentioned that we are interested in Pixel 6, and this is an upside down cake, and that is the Android version 14.0 as such. Okay, now I have named this. I'll click on finish, and you can see that we have got a new device manager which is Appium Google Pixel. Okay, now this is Android 14.0. Now there is a play button over here. Right now, what does this play button show is you can click on start. Now I got a message over here starting up. You can see a message coming over here which is starting up. Now it is taking little bit time, depends on your internet speed as well as your machine speed as such, but kindly be patient that it will start up. Like the device manager itself will start up, the emulator should start up. It will take little bit of time. Alright, so in the last video, what we did is we were able to set up our Android, and then we were able to run this Android as well. And we went to ADB devices, and post running ADB devices, we could see that the list of devices attached is emulator hyphen 5554. Okay, now what we will try to understand in this video is about our sample application. Okay, so I'll tell you how to install our sample application in the emulator. Okay, which I have already done. Like for example, if we click on home page of our Android emulator, I will go towards this right hand side, right? You can see my pointer going towards right, and I am just scrolling up. When I'm doing scrolling up or moving my pointer up, right, what I'm able to get is different applications or apps inside this emulator. Okay, now there is a simple demo. There's an app that I have already installed, but I'll give you clear instructions how to get this app. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to go in Google, and then you just have to search over here as sample application, and that to APK. So APK is, and then I'll just press enter, and I'll try to search something related to softonic. Okay, so after that, what I'll do is I'll just press softonic, and you can see that there is a demo simple APK for Android download. Okay, now you can click on this particular link, and something like this will open up, and you can see that this particular app, right, which is demo simple APK, this has been provided here. Okay, Simple is an Android app developed by simple.org under a lifestyle category of medical subcategory. Okay, now what it means is this particular app is specifically related to healthcare or medical subcategory, and what you can do is you can click over here as free download. Okay, now the moment you click on free download, you will get something like this. No thanks. I'll click on downloading this particular app, and what it will happen is it will get downloaded in your default download folder. So if I scroll here, you can see under the downloads folder there is something called as org simple clinic staging. Okay, so this is the app, and it's a type of APK file. Now what I can do is once the emulator is present over here, I just simply need to drag and drop this into our emulator. Okay, now if I drag it, you can see that there is a tooltip appearing. APKs will be installed, other files will be copied to SD card download. Okay, so this is what you need to do, and the moment you do that, you will get something like this. It might take little bit time, but after that you can see that the app has come over here in your emulator as such. Okay, now in the next video, what we will try to do is I'll give you a complete demo about what this app is about. Okay, I need you guys to understand so that we have to automate this app. Okay, and this is a simple app, it's about medical subcategory, but once you understand about the app, we will be able to automate or do a testing on this particular app. So let's do that next. All right, now in this particular video, what we'll do is we'll just drag and drop the download that we have already performed. Now you can see the moment I have um, dragged and dropped the app downloadable into our phone, our emulator, you can see that there was a installing APK, a particular message coming, and our simple demo has been installed. Okay, now the moment you install it, you can see something on this particular application area. Okay, now I'll go to home page of the phone as such, and you can see that the app has appeared over here. Otherwise, I can drag my home screen, and you can see that there is a simple demo. Okay, now I'll click on this particular demo app, and I will walk you through that this particular application. So this is just a simple demo. Now what I'll do is I'll click on next, and you can see that there are some messages coming over here: search and find thousands of patients for hypertension and all that. Now I'll just click on get started, and there is a terms and conditions. I'll just click on agree, and it will ask few radio buttons over here, which is India, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, as well as demo country. Okay, now let's select a country over here. Now in my case, what I'll do is I'll select a country, which is India, and then there are four options over here. I'll select here as Diamond Islands, and I'll provide a random digit number and click on next. So here it is asking for a role and full name. So what I'll do is I'll enter Dr. Ace Automation. So it's a role as well as full name and click on next. It will ask for a create pin. So I'll give a 4-digit pin 1212 in my case. It's asking for a location access. I'll probably skip it. And you can see that there are a lot of facility names. Okay, so if I scroll down, you can see there are a lot of facility names. So as a doctor, I can access to all these facilities. Okay, in Diamond Island as a place, I can access all these facilities. Now over here, the facility that I'll be looking for is, if I scroll down, there is a facility called Tamarind City. Okay, now this Tamarind City is in Diamond Islands. It's a place. So what I'll do is I'll scroll up and just type over here as Tamarind. And you can see that while I have entered Tamarind, you can see that I have got this standalone Tamarind City as my facility. Okay, now I'll just click on here and it's asking, are you at standalone Tamarind City? I'll just click on yes. And a simple video will open up over here, which is how to use simple app. I'll just click on skip and it will ask for a notification. I'll probably select as allow. And after I have selected, you can see that the facility appears over here as standalone. Okay, now standalone Tamarind City. Okay, now what appears over here is that a different patients, okay, who has visited at what point of time has been appeared over here, and then there is a name over here as well. So there is a patient name and details of patient as well. So if I click on back, what I can do is I can probably enter a name that I am looking for. Apart from that, what I can do is register as a new patient. Okay, so what I can do is I can create a new patient. So I'll just click on register as a new patient. And here I have to enter all the patient's name. Okay, so I'll probably enter here as Scott Graham and age as 56 and it's a male. I can enter a phone number, a house address, a village as well, and then I can click on next. I can enter all these details if required and then click on next, and then you can see that because I did not enter the details like diagnosis, you can see that select a diagnosis for both hypertension and diabetes. Okay, so it's a mandatory field. So what I'll do is I'll click on yes. I can click on no, no, and then click on next. And you can see that I have got one more pop-up which is asking for change diagnosis. I'll just click on change and then I'll click on yes. And did patient take BP medicines anytime? So I'll just click on next, yes, and then click on next, and then I'll click on save. And the moment I click on save, you can see that a blood pressure, add blood pressure pop-up has come. So I'll just click on that. I just click on blood pressure and then I'll write a random digit 190, 180, and then 90, 180. I'll click on save and then it is giving an error. Systolic should be more than diastolic. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll change this number to 190 and 180, 190, and then click on save. So blood pressure has appeared over here and then click on save and then schedule next visit in 28 days. Click on done and our new patient's details have been saved, which is Scott Graham 56, which is new registered. Okay. Now, what can happen is as a doctor, right? As a doctor, I can search my patient over here, which has been newly created, which is Scott Graham, and Scott Graham appears over here. I just click on this and then I'll get the details over here. So in this way, I with this app, what I can do is I can register a new patient as well as I can scan for an existing patient as such. Okay, so there can be various scenarios related to this app. As you can see, we have registered ourselves, we have provided the security pin as well, and I can register a new patient as well as I can look for an existing patient. Okay. Alright, so in this particular video, what we'll be trying to have a look is what are the capabilities, and when we are working with Appium, it is important to understand what are the capabilities that we are required to test. Okay, now how this capability really helps while testing with Appium is what I'm going to try to make my students understand, because uh, we have certain aspects of what is the app that we are really testing, what is the Android version that we are really using, what is the device that we are testing on. All that has to be set in the capabilities. Okay, so if I come back here and I have listed some capability names over here, right, which is device name, UDID, platform name, platform version, automation name, app package, as well as app activity. Okay, now let's have a look at the first section, which is these five capabilities first, and then we will move on to the second set. Okay, if you do not have the capability details of the testing that you are really doing on which app as well as which device you are testing, it will be difficult to set up your APM scripts as such. Okay, so you have to understand which is these capabilities so that you can use it in your scripts and really test your scripts based on that. Okay, now in our example, what I'll do is I'll first go to my emulator and I will open up my emulator. Okay. Now first capability that we are looking at is the device name. Okay. So we have to understand what is our device name that we have to really test on. Okay. So this is our device, which is an emulator. This is not a physical device as such. This is an emulator, right? Now, how do we identify the device name is based on the emulator. You can go to the settings. So I'll go to the settings of this particular emulator. I'll click on the settings, and once I come to the settings page of the emulator as such, I'll just scroll down and I'll go to this particular section, which is about emulator device. Okay, so I'll just click on it, and once I come over here, you can see that there is a basic info over here, which is device name, and you can see the device name over here. Okay, it's SDK underscore G phone 64 underscore X86 underscore 64. Okay, so that is why my device name, and I'll make a note of it because I have to use this in my automation scripts as well. And once I understand what is my capability, which is the device name, then I'll move on to UDID. Okay, now for UDID, we had specifically ran our command, which is command prompt. If I go there and if I perform this particular command, which is ADB devices, you can see that there is a list of devices over here, which is emulator hyphen 5554. Okay, so in a way we have got our details about UDID, which is the capability that we wanted, and we can supply our UDID as emulator hyphen 5554. Okay, so that's the UDID. The platform name is also important. Now the platform name is the one which we are using in this case is an Android. Okay, so it's not hard to understand. We are using Android, which is a Google Pixel phone in this case, and it has an OS of Android as such. And one specific reason, this course is based on Android, and that's why we will be using Android as our platform name. Okay, another thing which we are interested is platform version, right? Now the platform version is, if I scroll down in our emulator device, you can see the platform version that we are using is an Android version. Okay, and this time it's 14. Okay, so it is very important to understand which Android version you are using in your Appium scripts, and we are going to use 14, and I'll make a note of this as well so that I can use in my automation scripts as such. Okay, now the next capability that we are interested is automation name. Okay, so this automation name is the one which we have to understand what we are going to use in our automation scripts as such. Okay, now what I will do is I'll just go to Google, and over here I'll just search over here as Appium Android capabilities, and the first link that we have over here is capability section, and over here it is important that we come down and see a automation name over here. Okay, now this is a required field. As you can see, it is a very important field. I'll scroll some below as well, and we are not using iPhone or iOS. What we are using is an Android, so I'll scroll further down, and I got a better way to find out what should be our automation name. And one of the Appium discussions that has happened is automation name is supposed to be UI automated 2. Okay, now that is the automation name which will be requiring for Google Pixel as such. Okay, now I'll make a note of that as well, because that is very important to understand what is our automation name. So we got our device name, we got our UDID, we got our platform name, we got our platform version, we got our automation name as well. Okay, so the first set of capabilities are decided, which is good. Now we will look at how to check the second set of capabilities, that is app package and app activity as well, so that we are clear what we have to use in our automation scripts as such as well. So for this, what we will do is we'll go back to our phone or the emulator. What I'll do is I'll go back and I'll go to the home page, and over here there's a Google over here. What I'll do is I'll look for Google Play Store, and you can see that we are able to see Google Play over here. And now what I will search over here is APK info. Okay, so this is something that we are interested in, APK info, and you can get over here as shows information about installed application, package name, version name. So this particular app, which is APK info, gives the details about the apps that are installed inside the phone or the emulator. So what I'll do is I'll install this one in the phone, or else what we can do is we can look for APK info, APK download, and you'll be able to see over here that there is a APK info on Google Apps. I'll just click on download, and then I'll click on download over here, which I have got on one of the sites. So I'll just click on download, and it's getting downloaded. I'll just click on open. I'll go to downloads, and I've got a APK info, and I'll open up emulator. I'll just drag and drop here, and you can see APKs will be installed. So I'll just click on here, which is installing APK, and hopefully it is installed. What I'll do is I'll go back and check over here. I'll just click on install, just click on OK. It's getting downloaded. APK info is getting downloaded, and I'll just click on install. We can click on open, and you can see that there are APKs. I'll just scroll down, and I have come to this particular app which is appearing as simple demo. Okay, now you can see some details over here because we have installed APK info. That's why we are able to see this. And now you can see that there is a org, there is a details about simple demo app, which is org.simple.clinic.staging. Okay, Now we were talking about capabilities, right? And the capability name of the app package is what we really wanted. Okay, so if I come here, you can see that there is org.simple.clinic.staging. Okay, so that is our app package name. Okay, which is important. And then what I'll do is I'll click over here and I'll come down here in the permission section, okay, and method activity section. Okay, now if I click on activity, you can see that there are different activities over here. Right now there is a org.simple clinic.setup activity, and there are a lot of other activities. Now it generally is difficult to understand what is the app activity to launch the application, and generally it is a home or a main activity which is related to the app activity that we are searching for. And fortunately in our case, for the app that we are testing, you can see that there is an app activity name which is org.simple.clinic.main. The activity. Okay, so this is the app activity which I will make a note of so that I can use it in my automation scripts. Okay, so we have understood what are the capabilities that we are looking for. So we have got the first set that we were interested, as well as the second set that we are interested. Okay, now we can proceed to the next step to create a new project as well as the automation scripts of Appium that we really want to do. All right, now that we have got our mobile attached to our machine and we have understood some of the capabilities as well that we wanted, these parameters of the capabilities, we have tried to understand these are the capabilities. Now let's try to create the project. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is I'll go to Intellij and click on Intellij. That is our IDE integrated development environment that we want to use. I'll click on new project. Okay, so the moment on I click on new project, this is what will open up, and I'll try to create a new project which will be Appium tests, and that I'll name it as Android test. And I'll select a location over here. By default there is a location which is idea projects as such, which is under C drive, and it has created another directory which is Appium Android test as such, so it will be named as our project name. And I've selected Java over here and a Maven. Okay, and I've selected a JDK over here. Okay, so if you're not able to see JDK version by default over here, what you can do is you can click on this particular section and then click on add JDK, and you can try to go to program files and then go to Java. Under Java there will be JDK-11. Okay, so you will have to map your JDK version so that it appears over here, and it will automatically detect your Java development kit in your machine. Okay, which is very important step in order to proceed, because Appium runs on Java. That's the reason we have to select this particular Java development kit specifically. And because I've already selected over here, that's why I am going to proceed with it. Okay, now I can add a sample code. I'll click on create, and the moment I click on create, a new project will get created, which is Appium Android test. Okay, so this is a Maven project as such, and we just have named our project as such. We have not added any dependencies. Now we will have to add dependencies of Java Selenium as well as Appium. For that, what we will do is we'll go to Google, a new tab in Google, and over here we will search as Maven repository. Okay, so Maven repository as such is a by default it contains all the repositories that we want to add the dependencies from perspective. Now what we'll search here is Selenium Java, and press enter on our keyboard, and this is the first link that we'll get. Okay, so I'll just click on Selenium Java, and there is a version of 4 which is the latest version. So now what I'll do is I'll select a 14.8 4.18.1 version, and I'll select this particular dependency and then copy this and come back to my project as such, and then add a tag over here which is dependencies, and then I'll just copy this particular dependency which is Selenium Java. The moment I copy over here, you can see that there is a Maven load Maven changes over here. I'll just click on it so that this particular dependency gets synced up with my project as such. All right. Now, the moment I have clicked on load Maven dependency, you can see that there was an indexing happening as such, and it will take a little bit of time. After that, our dependency will get added. Okay. Apart from that, what we are interested is we are interested to get another repository, which is another dependency, which is Appium. Okay, so I'll just search over here as Appium, and the first thing that you get is Java client. I'll just click on it, and there are versions of 9.2, 9.1. I'll just go with 9.1 version, and I'll just copy this one and come back to my project and then paste this dependency over here. All right, I'll just click on load Maven changes, which is downloading the dependencies as such, and it will get synced up. So currently our project is ready to work with Appium as well as Selenium. Both dependencies have been added, and let's try to create the test related to give the other parameters that we want to set up for our test. All right. Now in this particular section, we will be looking at Appium drivers. And this is again is an important step that we have to perform before we use Appium scripts in our automation scripts. Okay. Now there are some YouTube courses or videos present which does not give this particular idea about Appium drivers. And please note, if you do not install Appium drivers in your machine, then you will not be able to proceed with Appium automation scripts. Okay. Even though you write Appium scripts, you will not be able to proceed because installing drivers is an important step. Okay. Now I will prove this with this particular Appium documentation, and you can have a look here as well. This is the Appium documentation which mentions about Appium drivers, which exclusively stays about this particular statement, which is you can't use Appium without at least one driver. So you need to have at least one driver of Appium so that at least Appium scripts run in your machine. Okay, you will be able to script it, but when you are trying to run it, it will probably fail and is looking for a particular driver. Now it is given kind of a list of official drivers as well, this documentation, and as you can see there are different drivers over here, but the one which we are interested is this particular driver, which is UI Automator 2. Now the reason I am selecting this particular driver, which is UI Automator 2, is because the platform it supports is Android. Okay, and it has a mode of native, hybrid as well as web. Okay, so even if you are trying to automate in your mobile related to web, okay, you are using Safari or some kind of Safari or Google Chrome using your mobile app, or you could use an app as such. In both cases you can use this particular driver, which is UI Automator 2. Okay, so that's the reason I'm going to select this. Now in order to install UI Automator 2 in your machine, what you have to do is you have to open command prompt in the administrator mode, because we are going to install something. So if in order to install, you will have to open it in the administrator mode, and after you come here in the command prompt, you will have to enter this particular command, which is Appium driver install, and then installation key. So the installation key is this particular column, and the installation key that we are interested is UI Automator 2. So what I will do is I'll just enter this command, which is drive Appium driver install UI Automator 2, and then I'll press enter on my keyboard. Now I have got an error over here that a driver named UI Automator 2 is already installed. What it means is that I have already performed this particular step previously, but you won't get this particular message if you have not got driver installed and you are installing it for the first time. Okay, it will take time little bit. It will look for the locations where it needs to install your driver specifically, and you will get a green tick. As long as your driver is installed correctly, you will get a green tick, and then you will be able to run a command to see whether what are the installed drivers. Okay, so because I have already installed UI Automator 2 in my machine, what I'll do is I'll just run this particular command, which is apm driver list hyphen hyphen installed. Okay, and I'll press enter on my keyboard. So you can see that there are a couple of drivers that I have already installed, which is Windows as well as UI Automator. Now Windows is another driver which can be used to automate the Windows apps, which is specifically related to Windows. But UI Automator 2 is also appearing because I have successfully installed that. So once you have successfully installed Appium driver using this particular command, which is Appium driver install UI Automator 2, and you get a green tick. And one after that, you run this particular command, which is Appium driver list hyphen hyphen installed. You should be able to get something like this UI Automator 2, and you should get installed probably an npm message, so that you understand, okay, fine, this driver is successfully installed in my machine, and then you can proceed with the next step. So let's do that and then proceed with the next section. All right, now that we have created our project and we have understood about Appium drivers, we have already installed the Appium drivers, and we have understood about capabilities as well. Now is when we want to launch our application. Okay, now in order to launch our application, let's write a small piece of code. Okay, so once you create your project, it will look something like this. And what we have done is we have added a couple of dependencies over here, which is Selenium dependency and Appium dependency, and there is a folder over here which is Java. Right now, what we'll try to do is under this test folder there will be a folder which is Java. Okay, now let's create a Java file under here. So what I'll do is I'll right click and I'll select as new, and I'll select as Java class, and over here I'll just write here as app test and then press enter. Okay, so the moment I press enter, you can see that app test.java file has been created over here. Now what I want to really do is I want to create a main method over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll add is public static void main, and post that what I'll do is string args, and then I'll just open and close the bracket. Right now I have created a method which is main, and I'll create another method which is public static void open mobile app. Okay, so I'll open and close the bracket as such. Right now here we will write a small method or a small piece of code where we will pass the desired capabilities, and then we will try to launch our mobile app as such. Okay, now for this what I'll do is I'll add here as desired capabilities, and you can see that it's coming from openqa.selenium.remote. Okay, so I'll add this particular select desired capabilities, and then cap, I'll just create an object and new desired capabilities. Okay, so this is what I'll add, and post that what I want to do is I want to set the capabilities. So I will use this object which is cap, and then cap dot set capability, and over here I'll pass on a couple of arguments. So if I hover on top of set capabilities, you can see that we can pass a couple of variables over here, and I'll just pass key and value. So we will have to pass key and value pairs as such. Okay, and what we want to send across is the capability name and the value. Right now, in our previous sections, we had seen that we were able to use um, understand the capabilities specifically for this particular project, the app which we are testing. Right now, what I'll do is I'll copy this particular statement and then I'll paste it 7 times, one below each other, so that we can set our capabilities for our project. So all right, so I have added um, 7 capabilities over here, and I will keep on adding the capability name. Right now, in our previous videos, what we did is we looked at the capability starting with device name, and then we looked at something called as UDID. I'll just enter that as well. Platform name, platform version, automation name, app package name, app activity. So you can see that it exactly matches with our capabilities that we had previously looked at, right? Now you can see that our device name is matching, UDID is also matching, platform name is also matching, platform version is also matching, automation name is also matching, app package and app activity. Okay, so I've just reviewed, and this is not app package name, but it is app package. Okay. Now, one important thing is that you need to be very sure on the specific casing. Okay. If it is, most of them are, as you can see, those are camel casing. So if you do not use a proper casing, then it might tend to fail. So it is important that you are using the exact word as well as exact casing so that it matches, and then only the APM server APM would really work. Okay. So once you have entered all these capabilities and it exactly matches what the capabilities is required to be entered. Now I did notice one particular spelling mistake. Okay, so what I have written over here is platform, but it's not platform, it's platform. So kindly recheck all these spellings because it is very important that it has to match. And once these capabilities are entered, now let's look at our APM. All right, now that we have entered those capability details, that is at least the capability names are entered. Now let's enter all the values. Okay, because without the values, we will not be able to start the app as such. Okay, so what I've done here is I've opened up the emulator app, right? And one by one, we will try to add this details as well. So previously, what we did is, if you remember, we went into settings of the emulator, and then we scrolled down and we clicked on this particular emulator device, and then we were able to get the device name. Okay, so this is the device name that we have to enter, and let's enter it in our device name over here in the script. All right, so we have written the device name from our emulator. We have provided these details: sdk underscore g phone 64 underscore x86 underscore 64. Kindly note that it has to be exactly the same. The spelling itself has to be same. All the underscore have to be same. Otherwise, APM will not be able to detect this. Okay. Now UDID, similar to what we did in the previous step, what I'll do is I'll go to command prompt, right? And over here, once the command prompt opens up, I will just type over here as ADB devices and press enter on my keyboard. And you can see that there is a device name which is emulator hyphen 5554. So that is what I will enter over here as well. So I'll just type here as emulator hyphen 5554. Okay, so once that is entered, what you have to enter is the platform name. Okay, so the platform name in our case is going to be Android, and if you remember, the Android version that we are using in this course is 14. So what I'll enter here is 14. Now automation name is going to be UI automator 2, so I'll just enter that, and the app package, right? So the app package has to be within this particular device, right? So if I come back, I'll click on APK info. So I'll come over here and you can see that there is an app package which is org.simple.clinic.staging. So I'll enter that here. All right. Now, once we enter the app name, what we'll do is we'll add the app activity. So I'll go to app and then I'll look for activities, and over here the main activity or the home activity I have to select. So this is org.simple.clinic.main, the activity. So I'll just enter that over here. All right, so we have entered the details about our app activity as well, as you can see, and now Now what we have to do is we have to enter the details of our URL, right? Now I'll enter over here as URL and then URL equal to new URL. I'll open and close the brackets, and here I'll have to enter the URL as such http and 127.0.0.1 colon 4723. Okay, now we are providing the details of the Appium server as such. Now here what I'll do is I'll import the class of URL and our definition is done. I'll add the exception as well and I'll add a driver. Okay, so now I'll add driver equal to new Appium driver. So I'll have to select this one, which is given by the dependency of io.appium.java underscore client, right? Now I'll just type here, select this one, and I'll pass couple of arguments, which is URL as well as cap. So cap is our capability. Now the driver has not been defined yet, right? Now what I'll do is I will define the driver in our class. So I'll go up, I'll add the details about our driver, which is static Appium driver as such. And once we enter that, we will call this particular method inside our main, right? Because we are supposed to call main, that's the reason. So what I'll do is I'll just call the method, which is open mobile app, and I'll add the exception as well. And we are ready to launch our driver, okay, which is launch our application as such. So once this is done, what we'll do is we'll keep our Appium here. I'll just go to home and keep my emulator here. Now what I'll do is I'll click on this particular run app test Java. Okay, so there will be some tests happening. Now you can see some before test is happening. Build is getting finished, compilation finished, and we got an error that is could not start a session or possible is invalid address as such. All right, now we have got an error over here. Now let's have a look at what the error message is. So could not start a new session, possible causes are invalid address of the remote server. So what it means is your Appium server is not running. So what you have to do, you have to search for command prompt. Okay, and then after you open up your command prompt, you will have to enter here as a Appium and then press enter on your keyboard. Now, once you enter Appium and then press enter on your keyboard, what happens is Appium server runs. Okay, and once your Appium server runs, you will be able to see something like this, which is that your port is at 4723, which is a local host is running. Okay, so you will be able to identify that 127.0.0.1, that is a local host is running, and this is where we are trying to hit this particular URL. Okay, so that is what we have made sure that our Appium is up and running. And now what I have done is I have slightly modified my app activity. As you can see, I have modified this as main activity to setup activity. Okay. Now I realized that I have to check this particular app activity, and I checked in the app again, and this is supposed to be setup activity. So hence I have modified this main activity to setup activity so that I can launch my app as such. Okay. Now please make a note to modify in your script as well, so that this is a setup activity. Now post this, what I'll do is I'll just run this particular test and I'll just open up this emulator as well. And now you can see that something had opened up, which is an Appium server, and our app is has opened. Okay. And once the app has opened, you can see that we have got this particular home page of the app, which is a simple demo app as such. And still our scripts are running. What it had to do, it has done. It has launched the app as such. And we get an message here that process finished with exit code 0. Okay, so that's how the app's launched as such, and you can see that we have provided the details, different capabilities as well. Now additional line that I have added over here is capability dot set capability. I have added one more line item over here, auto grant permissions. Okay, so the capability name I am providing here is auto grant permissions, so that I can access this app as such. Now this is not mandatory, but if you are getting any permission issue as such, kindly add this. But just a disclaimer that you can add this particular capability as well before you add the other capabilities as such. Okay, so what we intended to do in this particular section to launch the app is done, and now in the next sections what we'll do is we will perform the actual test, that is navigate through the application as such, and let's try to understand how we can do that next. Alright, so in this particular section, we'll be looking of how to install an Appium inspector and what's an Appium inspector. Okay, so what I will do is I'll go to Google Chrome and I'll just type here as Appium inspector. And the first thing that you are able to see is Appium inspector is a GitHub. You'll be able to go inside this particular link, and then you'll be able to understand what exactly does Appium Inspector do. Okay, so Appium Inspector is a GUI assistant tool for Appium, providing visual inspection of the element under test. Okay, it can show the application page screenshots along with its page source, and then you will be able to get some element locators. Okay, so there is an example over here. There is an app, maybe it's an emulator, through which the Appium inspector is able to, we are able to click on some of the elements, and then we are able to get some of the class elements or web element locators, iOS element locators, accessibility ID, for example. We are able to get all that. Okay, so for this what we have to do is first we have to install Appium inspector. Okay, so for that what I'll do is, so in order to install and download and install, you'll be able to see it over here, which is in the releases section. So I'll just go there and I can scroll down and look at the assets over here. There are 26 assets that I can see based on your OS operating system. Okay, if it's a Linux, Mac, or Windows, you can get either of that. Now in our example we are using a Windows machine, so what I will do is I'll just download this one and get it installed. Okay, now it's a very easy process. You just have to download this zip file and then install your Appium inspector. And once you are able to install your Appium inspector, what how will you will be able to see is where you will be able to search for Appium inspector and this particular app will appear for you. Okay, so what will happen is once you click on this, something like this will get opened up. Okay, which is Appium inspector. So this is what we will try. Kindly get this done, that is Appium inspector download in your machine, and then let this open up. Once you are able to do this, how do we identify the elements is something that we will check it in the next section. Okay, so let's do that in the next sections. Once you have downloaded and installed this Appium inspector specifically in your machine. All right, now that we have installed Appium inspector, we can open up a Appium inspector and then we can try to connect to this particular app. Okay, now there are some steps involved for using Appium inspector specifically, and I'll show that steps as well. So what I will do here is I'll open up reddit.com as such. Okay, and after that I'll go to Appium's as in the command prompt where we run the Appium server as such, and over here I will run the command that I use to start my Appium server. Okay, so I've just typed here as Appium and then I will press enter on my keyboard, and the moment I do that you can see that the server has run. Okay, now once the server has run, what I will do here is that I will try to come here on the Appium inspector, and then I'll try to start a session. Okay, and you can get an error over here, that is automation name can't be blank and the platform name can't be blank. Okay, now else you might get another error, which is that allow course, that is allow CORS is not happening. So if that is the case, if you are getting an error related to allow course is not happening, what you can do is you can close this, minimize the Appium server, then end your Appium server run, which I am doing Control C over here, Control C couple of times, and then you can see the server has closed. Okay. Now what I did here is just run Appium and then press enter on my keyboard. Now what I will do is I will just run here as Appium and then hyphen allow, couple of hyphens, and then press enter, and then you can see that allow course equal to true has appeared over here. Okay, now I'll open up the Appium inspector again and then I'll click on start session, and it's saying that automation name can't be blank or platform name can't be blank as such. Okay, so what we will do is we will enter the capability builders as well over here. So whatever capabilities we had set for this script, right, we had entered all this, you need to enter it here as well. So I'll keep on entering which matches with this. I'll select a JSON over here. So there is a drop down JSON object, and then select this device name, UDID. Once I add that, then I'll add platform name, platform version. Here I'll select as number, not a JSON object. So I'll pass here as 11. Then I'll pass automation name, that is UI Automator 2. Then I'll pass the app package. Here I'll provide the details of Reddit.frontpage and app activity. And once I enter all these details, you can see that the whole JSON representation is coming here. And then I'll click on start session. And I've got an error over here, failed to create session, the new session could not be created, details platform version must be a string. Okay, so I'll change this from number to string or text as such. So you can see that value has changed over here, as in the double quotes have come, and I'll click on start session, and there will be some kind of delay, and you can see that it is connected to reddit.com as such. Okay, so I'll just open up Visor here so that you can clearly see. So we have got connected to our reddit.com, and what I will do is I'll probably use this. So if I click on this particular element, which is continue with phone number, now I just click on this particular element, okay, and you can see that I am able to get the properties of this element. So I'll just expand this a little bit so that it's visible, and you can see that there are different properties of this element as such, which is an XPath over here, and then we will be able to see the accessibility ID as well, which is continue with your phone number, and then we are able to get details like whether it's a button or a class name as such, which we will try to understand what are the elements that we can identify for an Android phone as well, and for UI Automator 2 as such. So let's do that, but hopefully it makes sense how you connect your Appium inspector to an app, and this is a process that we have to do so that you will be able to identify different elements as such of your app. So let's continue about what's the elements related to mobile app as such. Alright, so in this particular section, we'll be looking at Appium locator strategies and selectors as such. So whoever has worked in Selenium, they are aware of element locators. So Selenium is a web-based automation tool, and whatever is present on the web page, what we generally do is we try to locate an element on the web page. Okay, so Appium is a mobile app plus hybrid plus mobile web as such tool, and we have our own Appium locator strategies, and I'll just touch base on that in this particular session. Now, supported location strategies, especially for APM, is there will be a class name or ID or name or XPath or accessibility ID hyphen Android UI automator hyphen iOS predicate string or hyphen iOS class chain. Okay. Now, one good thing about the APM inspector as such is APM inspector has a very good mechanism to get the best element locators on the mobile app. Okay, and I'll explain when I am trying to depict that in our APM inspector as such. So what I'll do is because these are the location strategies: class name, ID, name, XPath, accessibility ID, Android UI automator, predicate, string, iOS, class chain. Now, what we were focusing on this particular video is we are focusing on Android. Okay, so you might be able to see some of the element locators which are hyphen Android UI automator. So it will not be containing iOS predicate string, iOS class chain as such. We will be looking at Android UI automator, and there is something called as accessibility ID as well, which are commonly included in the element locator of the mobile app, and I'll show that aspect as such as well. Before jumping on to capturing the element locators, we'll be looking from a perspective of there is couple of details on the APM locators. Okay, so one is a strategy, another is a selector, and you can understand that how we use a strategy is how to find an element. Okay, so we try to use the mechanism of how to find an element, and selector is which element in particular to find. Okay, so class name can be a locator strategy, or we can use accessibility ID, for example, we can use XPath, for example, as our locator strategy, and the selector will be the element in particular to find. Okay, so this is the command that we will use, driver.find element, and let's have a look at that aspect as well practically when we are doing the driver.find element. We will use apm by, and then we will look at the locator strategy as well. All right, now that we have installed APM inspector in our machine, what we have to do is we have to use APM inspector to inspect the elements in our app. So what I've done here is I have opened up the emulator and just kept it open here, and I have opened up the app as well. Okay, now that we have installed APM inspector, now I'll just search here as APM inspector in my command prompt, and APM inspector should be opened up, and it will look something like this, which is the APM inspector. Okay, now by remote host you can see that it's already connected, trying to connect to local host, which is 127.0.0.1. Okay, and the remote port is 4723. By default it has automatically picked up that there will be an app, a remote app, which is already running in this particular ports. Okay, that is smart enough. Now, apart from that, what we will have to do is we will have to specifically set up the capabilities that we had set in our automation script. Okay, so we will have to one by one add these capabilities, which is device name, UDID, platform name, platform version 14, platform version, automation name, app package, app activity, and all that we will have to set it up. So let me add this one by one so that we have this we will be able to start a session specifically for the APM inspector. So let me do that. All right, so I have added all the capability names. Let me recheck. So it's a device name, UDID, platform name, platform version, automation name, app package, as well as app activity. Okay, so exactly it has to match the capabilities that we have entered, and one by one I will have to enter these details as well. Now please note, when you are selecting this particular type of capability, you will have to make sure it is a JSON object. So I'll just create these as well. So I've selected this as a JSON object. I'll add the device name. So I'll just copy from here so that there are no mistakes. I'll come back to Appium inspector and the capability name. Now, the moment I do that, you can observe one more thing is JSON representation. This JSON is getting formed over here. So the moment we add the capabilities, all the details over here, you can see all the payload getting generated for the JSON. So let me do that. So I'm copying the UDID now and copying and moving it to Appium inspector. Platform name is Android. Platform version is 14. Automation name is UI Automator 2. App package is this particular org simple clinic staging. So I'll just copy this, come back to my inspector. App activity is this one. So I'll just copy this and come back here. And I've added all the details. Okay. Now I can add JSON objects over here for each of the capabilities. So I'll just click on a JSON object, and over here, the moment I do a JSON object, you can see all the details remain the same. Now, one particular value over here, which is platform version 14, okay, this is appearing. So when it's a number, it will not take as number, um, but I'll show you what issue happens if I select this platform version as still as JSON object. Let me click on start session. And you can see that I've got an error over here, which is platform version must be of type string. Okay, so platform version is supposed to be a string. So there is no specific string. So what I'll do is I'll move it to text and then close this pop-up and then restart my session. So I'll just click on start session. So it will take a little bit of time. Be patient. So in case you get a blank space like this, what you can do is you can close the session, quit session, and restart the session again. So I'll click on start session again. So the demo app has opened up, and you can see that the home page has opened up of the app that we are testing. Okay. And one good thing about the Appium inspector, and the reason we are using the Appium inspector, is that we want our elements locators to be scanned. Okay, and this is a very good mechanism. Appium inspector helps us to do that. So you can see that there is a button over here which is next. Okay, now with Appium inspector, what we can do is we can hover on this app, as well as we can uh, look for this particular button. Now I want to click on next. Okay, so I want my automation scripts to identify that there is a button which is next, but we need to have a unique property for that. So what I'll do is I'll just click on this particular button. Okay, now please note that I have clicked in Appium inspector. I have not clicked on the app. Okay, if I click on the app, what will happen is it will navigate to the next page. But because I have clicked this under Appium inspector, what I can do is I can look at the element properties of this particular button. Okay, now the moment I click that, you can see that there are a lot of properties which are appearing for this button. Okay, the moment this is appearing, the selected elements are appearing, and you can see different properties over here which is find by, that is ID, class name, XPath is also appearing for this one, which is good. We are able to gather this information and use it to perform any operation. Right now we want to what we want to really do is we want to capture this element properties and then perform an operation on that as well. So the unique properties are appearing. There will be something called as accessibility as well. We will have a look on really what all values are coming. So the different attributes are coming over here: index equal to package, class, text. Even the text is appearing, which is next. Okay, so the text is appearing which is on this particular element. and different properties over here, whether it's checkable, it's clickable. So it is not checkable, that's why it is appearing as false, because this is a button. You cannot check a button, but what you can do is you can click on this button. So you can see that there is a clickable, there is focusable. Yes, we can focus on this particular button as well. And other properties are false, but what we want and what we are interested is clickable. We want to click on this button. So in the next video, what I will try to do is I will try to give a different variety of strategies, right? Locator strategies that we can use so that we can capture those strategies and use it in our automation scripts as well. So let's look at the locator strategy in the next video. But I hope it makes sense how to use the APM inspector now, because we had just one element which is button over here. That's why I could show that there are different properties or different attributes of this particular um, element. But if there would have been different elements on the app, that app that you are testing, then you would understand that okay, on clicking on different areas of the app, you will be able to get the element locators of that particular elements as such. So let's try to understand about locator strategies in the next video, and how to use it. We will try to understand that. All right, now that we have understood about the locator strategies and how we can use it in the automation scripts, now let's start to practically use these locator strategies as well. So in the previous video, what we understood is we were able to scan this particular element, which is next button as such, and you can see that we had captured some elements, right? We were able to get XPath as well. So we can use this XPath element as well. Depends on what you can really use it. So here I can see that there is no specific Android UI automator as such. So what I will do is there is no accessibility ID as such. So what I will do, I'll copy this particular XPath and then come back in my automation script. And once we launch our application, what we really do is we can um, use driver and we can find the element. Okay, now by finding the element, what we will have to do is new apm by, and you can see that when I select APM, you can see that there are different element locators coming. Okay, so what I can do is APM by, and then I can pass here as XPath. Okay, so the XPath is being passed here. So I pass the XPath, and you can see that the whole XPath is being passed. All right, so we have passed the XPath element over here, and then once we have passed the XPath element, what we really want to do with this element is we want to click it, right? So what I'll do is I'll pass a method over here in the end, which is dot click, so that we can perform the click. Now, before we launch the application, right after we launch the application and we press the click button, I want to add just a thread dot sleep, and I'll pass on the exception as well. Um, all right, now what I'll do is I'll run my automation scripts, which will launch the application and try to click on next. So let me do that. Let me click on button of running the test. I'll just clip the emulator next to this particular script. So what it's doing is the emulator has closed the applications. Now hopefully it will open up the demo application as such. So the APM is starting, APM server as such. The app has opened up, which is our demo app. So we have some thread.sleep, and it has clicked on nest. Now it has navigated to the next page, but we have not captured this particular page. But you can see that it has clicked on the next page. So that is how we capture and then perform the operation on this particular app. So in the next video, let's try to automate the next steps as well and capture some more elements. All right, now that we have understood about asserts, what I'll do is I had modified this just to fail our test case. I'll put this back for our asserts, and then what we do is we can add some more asserts to our test, and we can look on to fix those tests as well. So let's do that one by one. So what I'll do is I'll click on the app as such, let the app open up. Let's click on next, and we can add some more asserts like this particular text. So what I'll do is I'll add and click on start session from the Appium inspector, and then I'll click on this particular text. So similar to what we did for the this particular test, search and find thousands, we will add some more we will add the similar element properties like this, maintain records of blood pressure and medicines. So I'll just copy this particular Android UI automator, and similar to what we did for hypertension, we'll do it for the blood pressure as well. So I'll add a string. It will be actual blood pressure equal to driver dot find element, and then we'll use new Appium Android UI automator, and we'll pass the automator as such, and this will be a text. So we'll add get text, and then end of a statement will come down, and we'll put assert equals, and then we'll take this particular text. Okay, so we are taking the text of blood pressure and medicines. I'll just come here and then add it here, and we'll match it with the actual blood pressure which is coming in. Okay, so similar to that, what we can do is we can come here in the app, and we can take the patient receive reminder messages. Okay, so what we can do is we can click on this particular element, we can take UI automator from this, and then similar to what we did for hypertension and blood pressure, we'll be able to add for the reminder messages as well. So I'll take the text, I'll come here, then enter the text here. All right, so we have done 3 asserts over here on the first page, and then what we'll do is I'll click on get started, and I'll just refresh on the Appium inspector as such, and you can see that there are a lot of text involved here. There is a terms of usage, so either we can take the whole text which is appearing over here, or we can just validate whether we are on this page or not, which is a terms of use. So I'll just click over here, I'll take the XPath. So there is UI automator as well. I'll take the UI automator, I think that is a better one. I'll come here, so over here get started button is clicked, right after that we have this agree and continue. So there are terms of use. Okay, so I'll just add here string actual terms usage driver dot find element get text terms of use, and then we'll pass actual terms usage. All right, so we have done some kind of assert over here, and post that we click on this particular button which is an Android, right? And that is agree and continue. So I'll just click here, and once we reach over here, you can see that there are different elements over here, right? I'll just come to Appium inspector and then refresh, and then there are different elements which is India, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, demo country. Now what we can do is we can either validate whether we are on this page by heading, that is select your country, or we can individually take these text which is different countries are available or not. Either of that depends on as how you think as a holistic view from an automation tester hat perspective. But we can do some kind of assert validations here. So I'll pull and then keep it in the code as such. So let me do that. So I clicked on India as such, and you can see that there is a UI automator. I'll just copy this one, come back here, and what I can do is I can add a string actual first country equal to, now we can write it over here, driver dot find element new Appium Android UI automator in the double quotes, and then I'll just get a text of it, and then I can do assert equals. I'm supplying accepted value as India and actual first country. So similar to this, we can add some more asserts as well. I've added here as actual first country, just modified my variable as such. So you can see that we can add more asserts, and that's how we generally do. Now what I will do is I'll rerun this script, okay, so that I can do some more validations of assert. So I'll just rerun and see whether the asserts really work or not. So my app will get closed, and I'll wait for the demo app to start. It has come to the home page. All right, so our test has failed for terms of use. So let's go back to terms of use where exactly it is. All right, so before terms of use, there has to be some kind of delay. So what I'll do is I'll add some kind of thread.sleep and then rerun my test as well again. I'll rerun my test and let's see whether it will take the wait and then perform the validation. The app has started. We are on home page. There are 3 asserts here for hypertension, blood pressure, and reminder, and then we have terms and use validation. We have a assert here which is for the country of India. It has clicked on India as well. It has selected diamond islands. It has entered the phone number. It has clicked on next. It enters the security pin, and we are on the page where we exactly wanted. So we have done all the asserts now that we had added, and you can see the build is successfully completed. Even the test has successfully completed, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to add the asserts in our test successfully, and the test also has passed successfully as such. All right, now I just wanted to give a quick introduction to what's a BDD framework. Now, BDD framework, that is behavior driven development approach, allows the testers and the business analysts to create test cases in simple test language, generally English. And behavior driven development is a agile software development methodology in which an application is documented and designed around the behaviors a user expects to experience when interacting with it. BDD also offers the ability to enlarge the pool of input and feedback to include business stakeholders and end users who may have little software development knowledge. Due to this expanded feedback loop, development teams may more readily use BDD in continuous integration and continuous delivery environments. Now, there is a given when then formula. It's a template intended to guide the writing of acceptance tests for a user story. Given some context, when some action is carried out, then a particular set of observable consequences should obtain. Now, tools such as Cucumber encourage using of this template, though it can also be purely as heuristic, irrespective of any tool. All right, so until now, what we were doing is we were able to run our test, okay, and we were able to run the test in a method. That is, we were calling this main method inside our app.test app test class file, and this main method was calling another method which is open mobile app, okay, and this is open mobile app, and what we were doing is we were setting up the desired capabilities. We were running the URL as well, and then we were triggering the driver, and within the driver we were performing the asserts as well. So everything we were doing in this particular method, okay. Now what we will try to do is we will try to make this test as BDD driven framework, okay, so behavior driven framework. So until now we were be able to successfully achieve through Appium, we were able to do some validations as well, but let's try to integrate with the BDD approach as well, behavior driven, so that it's working in with Appium passage. Okay, so let's do that. Now what I'll do here is I'll try to inside this folder of Java, I'll try to create four more folders, or two more folders, okay, which will be features. Now let me create this as a package, and over here what I'll do is I will name this as features, and then create this folder, and I'll create another folder which is called as step definitions. Okay, so once I create this packages, you can see that there are two folders now created, which is features as well as packages. Now apart from this, what we will do is we'll create one more folder which is runner file. So what I'll do is I'll create a folder or a package which is runner, and this will contain our runner file as such. Now, in order to drive our BDD framework as such, what we will have to do is we will have to add our pom.xml file. So let me open up Maven repository, and in the Maven repository, what I'll do is I'll search as Cucumber, and then I'll pick up Cucumber Java and Cucumber core. So I'll just go here. I'll pick up 7.16.1. I'll take this dependency, add it in my pom.xml file, and I'll take Cucumber core as well, and I'll take Cucumber JUnit as well. So I'll go back and take this one, which is Cucumber JUnit, and I'll load the Maven as such. So let the dependencies get resolved so that our Cucumber files libraries get downloaded and installed as well. I'll go to my runner file, and I'll right click here and then select a Java class file, and I'll name this as testrunner.java. I'll create this, and I'll add this particular statement, which is at the rate run with, which is Cucumber class, and at the rate Cucumber options. So what I'm doing here is I'm providing details about features, where exactly is my feature file is going to be. So what I have given is a path source test Java, source test Java, and within that there is a features file, and then step definition also I will have to provide. Now this exactly has to match, so what I'll do is I'll just modify this little bit and add the statement. So this is pointing to step definitions. This is the folder as such. Now in the feature file, what I'll do is I'll create a feature. So I'll right click, and then I'll create a file over here and add a feature demo health healthcare test dot feature. I'll add a given when then statements. So I'll add as a feature, this test validates a health care demo app scenario. validate whether the app is working. Now, given user navigates to the health app, when he clicks on next pages, he is successfully able to navigate and validate the app. So what we have done is we have written the statement of given, when, then, but now we will have to define the statements. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is I'll go to step definitions and right click, and over here I'll have to create a Java class file wherein I'll create a demo healthcare app. And over here, what I'll do is I'll provide the given, when, then statement. So I'll just provide here as at the rate given. So this is an annotation that we use generally. So I'll open up this one, public void. So I'll have to use this particular statement. I'll just copy it, come back here. So you can see that our given statement has been accepted. Now what I'll do is I'll go here, copy, and then come back in my step definition and add this in my step definition. So you can see that what I have really done is I have mapped my given statement in the feature file to the step definition, which is over here. Okay, and then I can really correlate which is the exact statement correlating to my step definition. Let me do this for the when and then statement as well. So similar to what I did for given statement, I will do it for the when and then statement as such. Alright, so we have added now the when and then statement as well. And as you can see, if I go back to my step definition, if I come back to the features, you can see that all three statements have been mapped in my step definition as such. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll go to app test, as you can see, and within the app test, I'll take some of the statements. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this statement and come back in my step definitions, and I'll just paste it over here. Alright, so what I have done is I have copied all the statements from app test into my step definitions. Okay, now if I go to my this particular feature file, you can see that I have got double arrows over here. That means I can run this as a BDD test. Okay, so this will not be specifically app test that we have been driving over here, but this will be the BDD driven framework. Okay, so BDD driven framework will invoke the Appium test, and Appium test will perform the validations, and then we'll be able to get the results. So let me do that. I have come here in the feature file. I'll just click over here, and you can see run feature demo healthcare test. That is what our feature name is. I'll just click on run, and I'll just wait for the app emulator over here, and you can see the test have started running. It started compiling. Now the tests have run. You can see that the app is running, the demo app as such, our emulator, and the home page has started. It has clicked on next. It has validated all the asserts. It has clicked on next. It has come to the country. It has selected India. It has selected Diamond Islands as such. It has entered the phone number. It has entered the security pin, and you can see the test has passed. Okay, so the test has passed. One scenario has passed and three tests have passed, and you can see it has taken total 1 minute and 5 seconds. Okay, so that is a very good approach of BDD. When if you want to use BDD as a framework, it's a very good testing framework. Generally, BDD is used by technical and non-technical people. Now, in order to look at our report, what we can do is we can come here in the test runner file, and we can put a plugin over here. So what I'll do is I'll put a plugin which is a JSON Cucumber file, and it will generate a JSON HTML report. Okay, so let me replace this particular pretty file. Okay, so that we are able to see the HTML report. So what I'll do is I'll just mark this as HTML, and then I'll add it here. So in order to run generate our report, what we have to do is we will have to specifically run through our test runner file. So we'll click on test runner file. We'll click. Now, similar to what we did for the feature, we are running it in the test runner. And if we have to see the report, we will have to specifically run it in our test runner files. We have come to agree and continue. We'll click over here. We have reached the country page. We validated that, clicked on India, validated Diamond Islands as our clinic, entered the phone number, entered the security, and the test is completed. Now let's have a look. Exactly, it has taken 55 seconds and the test was successful. As you can see, now test passed. And now when we ran through test runner file, you can see that the Cucumber HTML report has got generated over here. Now let's come here, right click, and then open in. Let's find the, so we have got this Cucumber HTML report as such. What I'll do is I'll right click, or I'll just click on this particular HTML report. Now I'll just copy this and I'll go to one of the browser. Okay, and I'll type here as HTML viewer, and I'll just click on HTML online viewer, and what we'll do is we'll just paste the HTML here, and you can see that the report is getting generated. It has one test has passed 4 minutes ago. It has taken 55 seconds. We have run on Windows 11 as such. And if we expand this feature, you can see this test validates a healthcare demo app and validate whether the app is working. So there is given when then statement, and all three have tests have passed, how much duration it has taken, and when it was run, what is the percentage of pass. So you can see, imagine like there are a lot of tests in the APM, then we can get some more test as well. Now, because we have run only one scenario and there are three statements, that's why three tests have passed. Okay, so this is how we will be able to run and generate a report specifically for the demo app which we have run, and we have performed the operations, we have performed the asserts as well using the Appium library as such. So hopefully it helps to get an idea how to set up an APM test using a emulator as our emulator as mobile app, and how we can use BDD framework as well using APM as an automation test tool, and we can generate the report as well so that we is easily integrated in a framework as such. Now, if this video has helped you in any way, kindly like, share, and subscribe this particular channel. And hopefully, this will give you an idea, and you can share this video with someone who is wanting to learn automation testing and using APM in their organization. This is a very practical example how you can use emulator and mobile framework along with BDD in your test frameworks, which will definitely help you to become an automation expert.